You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of The Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Case Financial Group, Toby Hockey, and Wentworth AG. Before I get into introducing who the guest is in tonight's edition of the show, I just want to tell you guys that we were supposed to be doing 2 interviews in this week's edition of The Prospect Show, but I decided to push one of them back. I was supposed to be doing an interview with Matt Gorman and Eddie Steele from MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development. They'll be joining me in next week's edition of the show to talk about their history before MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development, as well as their time with MCN. And Matt is the owner of MCN, and Eddie is their football advisor. And for those of you who don't know who Eddie Steele is, he is a former defensive lineman from the CFL. He played in the CFL for Hamilton Tiger Cats, the Edmonton Eskimos, who are now renamed the Edmonton Elks, and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And one thing that I think is unbelievable is Eddie had a chance to win a Grey Cup in 2015 in his hometown, the town that I'm from, Winnipeg, Manitoba, winning the Grey Cup with the Edmonton Eskimos back in 2015 against the Ottawa Redblacks. It's going to be a lot of fun next Friday night, but let's dive into what's to come in this episode. One last thing before I get into who the guest is in tonight's episode. I was wearing a blue golf shirt in the interview that I did with him. We did it pre-recorded on Wednesday, and ever since Wednesday night, I have not been able to find that same blue golf shirt, so I'm wearing a different shirt in the intro, of course, this black golf shirt in the intro and the outro, and yeah, hopefully I get to find the blue golf shirt soon, because I would like to wear it for my interviews going forward, because it is one of my favorite shirts. But moving away from that, moving into who the guest is joining me in tonight's episode, it's Tarin Smith, 06 born defenseman from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan. Tarin joins me tonight to talk about his time growing up in Porcupine Plain. He also talks about his last 2 seasons with the North East Wolfpack U15 AA team, where he spent seasons from 2019-2020 up until this year playing with that team. And we also get into his decision to commit to the Saskatoon Blazers for the 2021-2022 season. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming in Tarin Smith, 06 defenseman from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, here on this week's edition of The Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Wow! The man himself, Tarin Smith, joins me now from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, commit of the Saskatoon Blazers for the 2021-2022 season. He's a 2006 born defenseman, so he'll be eligible for the Whl Draft come December. Tarin, thank you so much for joining me. I hope the weather is nicer in Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan tonight than it was last Friday. I'm guessing the weather is nicer there now, yeah?
It's a lot warmer, but it's really windy today.
Yeah, it's been pretty windy in Winnipeg, Manitoba at times for sure, but yeah, it's nice that the weather is really hot out for you, which is nice to hear. But man, thanks so much for coming on the show for this week's episode. How have you been holding up during the last time that I briefly spoke to you last Friday?
Good for the most part. Everything's going well. Ball has been fun. School's been going well. I'm done most of my classes for the year, so that's nice.
It's great. School's almost out. You get to play some ball, and is ball something like I'm assuming it's baseball. You've had a chance to play that for a pretty long time. When did you exactly start playing baseball?
I can't remember. I was really young, probably 5, 6, maybe.
Yeah, is that a sport that you were introduced to sooner than hockey, or was hockey the sport that came first?
Hockey was before ball, yeah.
Right on. So you've had a chance to be at least a two-sport athlete for a pretty long time. Have you had a chance to play any other sports throughout your lifetime?
I've played football for a few years. I didn't this year with all COVID and stuff. I played badminton and I do track quite a bit too.
Right on. So track, some football, some baseball, some other things too, and of course hockey and baseball. Just what's it been like being able to play all those different sports throughout a year and just juggling the schedule like that when you've had a chance to play more than two sports in a year?
I'd rather do that than only play one. I
Yeah.
love being busy and doing stuff all the time.
Right on. Like to keep yourself busy, and I'm assuming that you've had a chance to watch the NHL playoffs because when I was on a phone call with you, you seemed pretty excited about the game that was going on, Vegas and Colorado, which happened, I believe, last Thursday was Game 6. You had a chance to watch the playoffs a lot, or have you been too busy for that?
I've been watching quite a few of the playoffs, but my team lost out in the first round, so that kind of sucks.
Is that the Toronto Maple Leafs?
The Edmonton Oilers.
The Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, the Oilers screwed me. I had them going pretty far in the playoffs. I bet on McDavid and Draisaitl, but it turns out that it takes more than two guys to uh, give your team a chance to go far. As great as McDavid and Draisaitl is, I think that's a lesson that a lot of people learned for the second time this year. Who have you been? Have you been rooting for anyone else since the Oilers have been out? Is there a team that you've been following?
I want Montreal to win.
You want Montreal to win? See, it'd be
Yeah,
awesome if Montreal won because of Canada, but since I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan, that would be no good. And I have Vegas winning the whole thing, so that would also not be very good. But it'd be awesome to see Price get one for sure, get a championship finally. For you, growing up, have you always been a big hockey guy? You've been able to watch a lot growing up, or is it something that you picked up along the way?
I've always watched hockey since I was young. Watching games at night with my dad, trying to convince my mom to let me stay up a little bit past 9 when I was younger to keep watching those Oilers games.
Classic. Gotta bribe the parents to try to stay up as late as you can. That's the classic move. I remember when I was used to try to do that, but it wouldn't always work out for me. It wouldn't always work out in my favor. Is there a player that you grew up watching that is your favorite player to this day, or as you've watched more and more, have you found out that there was a player that came along that you found out was your favorite? I'm gonna take a shot out of the shot out of the dark here, take a wild guess. I'm guessing it's Connor McDavid is your favorite player.
When people ask that, they always get surprised, but I've always been a big Drew Doughty guy.
Oh, that's awesome. Drew Doughty. Yeah, one of the best defensemen in the league for a very long time, at least in his prime. What exactly drew you to liking Drew Doughty as your favorite player?
My dad liked him when he was younger because he thought that I sort of played like him and that I could base my game around him. And I remember watching highlights of Drew Doughty when he was in Bantam, and it looked like a lot of the stuff that I was doing. So
How would you say that your game relates to the way Drew Doughty plays the game?
he's more of he's an offensive defenseman, but he's also gritty in his own zone and can get pucks out and works hard and isn't scared to lay the body and stuff like that.
Yeah, No doubt, and that relates to your game, which is great. Let's talk about just what the Saskatoon Blazers team is going to get from you. Just, of course, you commit there for the 2021-2022 season. You're going to be playing on a team with so much talent. Just explain what type of player that this team is going to be getting on the blue line from Tarin Smith.
I like to think that I'm an offensive defenseman that can hold his own in the D zone and run a power play from the top and just make the right pass, make it a good pass all the time.
That's great. And I assume that you don't know this, but I was asking your manager. I don't know his last name because I didn't put it in my contacts. Cole. Cole, the guy that gives me all the contacts for me to get into contact with setting up interviews with you guys. He threw me a contact. I didn't even ask for you, and it ended up being your contact. And he said that you're the real deal. Says that he sees you going top 2 in the Whl Draft. Just to get praise like that from Cole, a guy that is involved with the team. Just what's that like? Just coming in knowing that along with him, this coaching staff probably thinks pretty highly of you.
That's awesome. There's not a much better feeling than that. I've always liked them. They've treated me perfectly. It's been awesome so far.
How did it come to be that you ended up committing to Saskatoon? Just why exactly did you choose the Blazers as that next step for you to take in your hockey development?
Well, I skated with them last summer. I didn't really think about midget AAA a lot then. And then when I started skating with them last summer, I started thinking a lot about it and where I wanted to go. And all of their staff was so nice to me, knew my name. I had never met any of them. I came to the rink. They all called me Smitty, my nickname and stuff like that. And it was awesome. And right then I knew I wanted to go there.
That's awesome. They knew you like they've known you forever, it seems like. That's an awesome feeling for sure. And Smitty's the nickname. Hey, I love it. How did that nickname come to be? I feel like there's a good story about that, or maybe it's just something that your parents have called you your whole life. But how'd the nickname Smitty come to be for you, Tarin?
All my hockey coaches called me that, and then my teammates just started calling me that, and it kind of just caught on.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy, it's simple, it's pretty sick too. I mean, Smitty is a pretty cool nickname to have, I do gotta say. But yeah, just for you to be able to get that type of sense of feeling, that just knowing that the coaching staff was all in on you just last summer is great. Just talking about the talent that you're going to be able to play with, just how excited are you to unite with all these different players and hopefully go for a championship, as I'm assuming the championship is the goal for you going into next season?
I'm so excited. I've played with lots of those guys, played against them. I know most of them, but all those 06s, I've played with every single one of them. Love playing with them. Love what they're about. I love being around them and all that stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And is the championship on your mind? Is that one of the top goals for you heading into next season?
That would be awesome. Yeah, that's a goal.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. And just for you spoke about how you feel like you're a defenseman that is going to be a good addition. You're going to be able. You feel like you could play on special teams. Could you speak about the different situations you've been able to play in throughout your years of playing with the North East Wolfpack leading up to this year? Just the situations that they put you in.
We only really played games my first year. We never really had a power play this year because we only played like 3 games, I think, and most of them were preseason. But when I was in my first year, I was running that top line power play with Rhett Ravendal, he's an 05 born demon that got drafted to Portland. He's really awesome. I love playing with him. He was a great leader, and me and him ran that first power play.
That's
Awesome.
great. That's awesome. So you feel like you'll be able to, with that experience, be able to have some impact on the team on playing power play with this Blazers team.
Yeah, most of the time when I'm on the power play, I'm on that top, and I love running it up there. It feels awesome. I just feel like I can get the right pass off at the right time, shoot at the right time from up there.
When I called your dad last week on last Thursday to set this up. You said you were skating. Seems like you like to be on the ice quite a bit. How's it been like just being able to be on the ice since the season ended all the way back in, I believe it was November. It's a while ago now, all the way back in 2020. Just being able to get on the ice as much as you can with the new restrictions that have been in place. How's that been for you in terms of getting that consistency of being on the ice?
I loved it. There hasn't been a whole lot of ice around here lately, but there was ice in Tisdale, which is like 40 minutes away from my house, and I was skating there 3 times a week until March, I think, when they took that ice out there. And then I didn't skate a ton because the closest ice is Saskatoon, which is 3 hours away. But I tried to go as much as I could, and I love going there, and it's awesome. So.
And just for you throughout that time of being able to be on the ice, what have been the things that you've been focusing on the most? I'm assuming it's been skill-based stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly been skill-based, lots of edge work, improving my stride. I kind of got an ugly stride. It's been messing up my hip lately, and I've been working on that a ton. So I focused on that for quite a while.
Would you say that stuff like fixing your stride is going to be one of the things that you're going to continue to work on heading into, I guess, the first skates with the Blazers next season?
Yeah, that's one thing that matters a lot to me is a good stride, and I'm going to keep working on it as long as I can. So.
How excited are you to be able to go out and play against older competition than you? Of course, you had a chance to go out and do that in your first season with the Wolfpack in 2019-2020, being a rookie at the U15 age level. Just how excited are you to get that opportunity to go out and show your skills against players that are a year, 2 years older than you, players that are almost 18 years old?
That's one of my favorite parts, is always playing against guys that are older than me. It brings me a lot of confidence knowing that I can compete with lots of them. Obviously, lots of them are really well, and when I can keep up to them, it really brings a lot of confidence to me. So that's nice.
Just talking about the WHL draft, of course, it's going down in December after it got pushed to December from its original date, which is in the springtime. Just what are you going to have any representation representing you? Is that something that's in the works? What's the plan going into the draft for that?
What do you mean by representation?
In terms of like advisors, is anyone an advisor for you?
I think so, yeah. Ryan Gibson.
Right on. How's that relationship with Ryan been?
I like him a lot. He treats me really well, takes us out to supper. We talk with him all the time about hockey and the draft, and he's awesome. He treats me so well.
That's great. And to have a guy like that, a guy that treats you well, a guy that I feel like, could be a good mentor for you in terms of just getting you to the places that you want in hockey. Just how huge is it? Do you think it's going to be to have Ryan representing you in the WHL draft process?
It's going to be great. He speaks highly of me lots, and he knows what he's talking about. He knows how to get the word out and stuff, which he has done a lot already. So it's kind of a big advantage.
How excited are you for that night if you are able to go get picked in the WHL draft to hopefully having your name called by one of the teams in the league?
I've been looking forward to that for quite a while now, as soon as I heard about the WHL draft, because I don't know, it's making me real nervous and stuff, and I just can't wait for it.
Yeah, I bet it's going to be an amazing day for you if and when you do get drafted into the WHL. It's going to be awesome to see. Just last question before we go to our first commercial break in this show. You talked about how the stride is something you want to continue working on. Just could you speak about the other stuff that you're going to be focusing on, training for, just heading into your next season of hockey?
Off the ice, I've been doing a lot of strength training and agility training. I've really been focusing on strength for the most part. I've been in the gym 6 days a week, doing athletic stuff, doing strength stuff, working with a few guys from my hometown that all want to have the same goal. And it's really been awesome. But my strength has really improved. I'm getting a lot more agile, which is nice. And I can really see that in my vertical, my 40 time and my cone drill, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. That's great that you're making those improvements of getting stronger, getting more agile. That's awesome, Tarin. It's going to be awesome to see what type of player you are going to be heading into next season. But before we get to next season, which we have been talking about, I guess, we'll reminisce a bit about just the last 2 seasons you've been able to play with the North East Wolfpack U15 AA team. Talk a bit about your time growing up in Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan as well. All of that coming up after the break on this week's edition of the Prospect Show. I've been joined by Tarin Smith, number 24 for the Saskatoon Blazers, 06 defenseman on this edition of the show. Stick with us. We'll be back after this commercial break. So welcome back to the show. I've been joined by Tarin Smith, defenseman for the North East Wolfpack U15 AA team, committed to the Saskatoon Blazers for the 2021-2022 season to play in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League at that U18 age level. I've just been talking to him about the commitment, just talking to him about just what type of player he is, and now we're going to move into just his hometown of Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan. I'm going to be honest here, and I've never heard of this town. Just what's Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan like?
I love it here. It's obviously a small town, only about 800 people or so, but I get along with everyone. There's tons of stuff to do, especially with me living on a farm. Lots of my family lives here. It's a great place to grow up.
How's that farm life been for you growing up?
I loved it all the time. I would much rather live on a farm than in town with all the freedom and being able to like go on a quad ride and stuff like that. It's great.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're a big fan of that small town feel, hey?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. How different do you feel like it's? I guess you've had a chance to move away to play for the Northeast Wolfpack. Just how is that transition like of just moving away from home to play?
I did still live at home. We just had to drive an hour to every practice, but I did kind of get the feel of the bigger town and not everyone knowing each other. So
How was that experience like of just getting that bigger town feel?
it was okay. I liked it. I'd much rather live in a smaller town where everyone knows each other, but it, it didn't bother me.
Yeah. And how excited are you to, I guess, get an opportunity to experience an even bigger town setting when you move out to Saskatoon?
That's really scary. I'm beyond nervous for going to a school with over 1,000 kids, where in my class or my school, I've grown up with the same 15 kids since as long as I can remember. It's going to be really scary and hard, but I'm sure I'll get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. And always nerve-wracking doing that. When I was in grade 7, after my grade 7 year, I actually switched schools, and I didn't switch towns, but I just switched to go into school in my own neighborhood. And that was nerve-wracking because you're the new kid, right? But I think for you, it's going to be awesome because you're probably going to be going to school with a lot of your teammates or some of your teammates at least. And yeah, you guys will be able to get to know each other pretty well, which is going to be awesome. Just in terms of the stuff that there is to do in Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, is there anything that stands out to you as kind of like if you come down to Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, you got to check this out?
There's not a ton of stuff like that, but like swimming in swimming holes and stuff like that, you can't do that in the city. That's one of the funnest parts about living out here. The pool, everyone loves going to the pool. It's kind of a place where you text your friend, say, let's go to the pool tonight, and you go and hang out there, and it's awesome.
How cool would it be, however far you make it in in your hockey career, in your hockey life, just to be that guy who did it from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan? Just how cool of a feeling would that be to kind of be, I don't know, the face of the city, but just one of the bigger names to come out?
That's always been probably my biggest dream. I've had dreams about it. I've always thought about it. I thought that'd be amazing, and that would be unreal. That would be awesome.
The team you've been able to play on for the full season, as well as some of this season before the league got shut down in the Saskatchewan AA Hockey League with the North East Wolfpack U15 AA team. Just speaking about just being able to come into that team in year one, just with the players that were on the team, just how was that experience like for you?
I loved my years with the Wolfpack. The coaching was great. All the kids were great. I had played with most of them before, but there's a few new faces, which that doesn't happen a lot. Normally, I've been playing with the same guys since I was little. But on that Wolfpack team, my first year, there was like 6 new guys, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, what was that like, getting to just be able to bond with those guys throughout the year?
It was good. I made new friends with most of them. I still talk to lots of them, go to the lake with them sometimes, hang out with them as much as I can.
Yeah, and I had your buddy Roan Woodward on the show, and he said that you guys are great friends. Just explain the relationship with you guys and just how it was able to grow throughout the year you had to play with them.
I've played with Rowan for as long as I can remember. I think we met in novice when we played on the same spring team one year, and I've loved playing with him ever since then. He's a great player, he's a great leader, and he's a good friend.
Yeah, and he carried the offense for you guys in that season, just along with Zach Bansley. Those were two guys that put up 80-plus points. Just what was it like having guys on the team like Roan and Zach just carrying the load for you guys?
Obviously, you would love to have a team with more depth, but those two really led the charge. You would pass them the puck, and lots of the times you would know they're going to go score. It's unreal what those two could do together. Obviously, the numbers were awesome, but just watching them play was unreal.
Yeah, and just being able to watch guys like that, just being able to sit back and watch them sometimes. Did you find like there were some things that you were able to take from their game and kind of use it in your game?
I'm a lot different than those two players, but their offensive is a lot like I kind of base mine. Sometimes they like to kind of lead the rush, which I do sometimes as a defenseman, which is not very common. And they both have unreal shots that score all the time. I remember they would skate in on the rush and take a shot from the top of the circles and score. And it's just, how do you do that? It's awesome.
Yeah, just fireworks. Just wow.
Yeah.
How is this? How's this guy that's my age just able to do that? That's crazy. That's nuts. Just around your age, around your age. Just talking about the biggest adjustment that you found just coming into the league. Of course, you being a younger player in that first year. What would you say was probably the biggest thing to adjust to at the start?
Probably the body contact. There was a lot of big kids. I was a little bit underdeveloped then. I was 5'5", 110 pounds or so. I was just small. I was getting roughed up a lot the first few games. I was pretty scared, and then I kind of settled into the contact, put myself in better situations, toughened up a bit, and wasn't scared to lay the body after that.
Yeah, so there were some moments where you did get lit up, and that's kind of what taught you, you gotta kind of keep your head up and stay stronger out there. Yeah.
I got hit a lot that year,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah, getting hit is never fun, but the only way you're gonna learn sometimes is getting hit, right? And it seems like you've been able to do that. Just for you being smaller back then, just what just for you leading up until that point of in your career, just what did you find were the biggest strengths that you had in that first year of just being able to, obviously being a smaller guy, just what would you say were the biggest strengths you had in that first season?
I was pretty shifty back then. I could get around guys pretty easily, and I always had myself in good positions to not get hit or hurt in places like that. And it really taught me, being a smaller guy, being able to get pushed around easily, body positioning. My body positioning was really well that year, and it had to be, otherwise I'd get knocked off the puck. So that helped a lot.
Yeah, and in that first season, I mean, you put up 5 goals, 16 assists for 21 points in 31 games. You were pretty feisty too out there with 56 penalty minutes. Just would you say that those penalty minutes were kind of just you getting into those dirty areas and just kind of unfortunate calls, or how are most of your penalties kind of called?
I think lots of those were interferences or cross checks in front of the net. My coach that year, he was he was hard, and he was telling me that being smaller, I need to be tougher, and sometimes it was hard without taking a penalty in front.
Yeah, no doubt. But just for you being able to go through that year of being on the smaller side of things, going up against bigger players, just how much would you say that that helped your development of just getting stronger in a game scenario?
It taught me a lot. I had to work around those guys, be able to not get hit all the time, and it taught me a lot about being aware of what's all around me and having my head on a swivel and stuff like that.
You put up, of course, as I said, 5 goals, 16 assists for 21 points. Just for you, would you say that the offensive side of things for you started to come along as the season went along, or would you say that it was there a lot of the times in the season?
That year was kind of rough towards the start. I wasn't confident at all. And then towards the end of the year, I started to gain my confidence. And I think after January, I was having about a point per game. I was really starting to pick my game up. I didn't have very much confidence at the start of the year. I was always down on myself, thinking I wouldn't be able to score and stuff like that. And then I kind of got in a groove, got out of that slump, I guess, and pucks started going in, stuff like that.
Would you say just being able to get out of that slump was just something that kind of happened overnight, or would you say that it was just something kind of leading up to you being able to have that type of impact in the second half?
It wasn't something like changing my tape job or something like that. I was talking to like mental trainers and therapists about it and stuff like that, and that helped a lot.
So was that the first time that you kind of dove into just the mental side of things in training?
Yeah, I was sort of in a rough mental spot that year, and it was a tough year for that stuff like that. And I talked to a lot of people about it, and that really helped. I haven't really experienced anything like that up until then.
Wow. And just for you being able to come through that adversity of just getting out of that slump and the mental side of things, just for you to go out and have that type of production in that second half of the season, just how much did that really do for your mental state? I'm assuming just the pressure that was lifted off of you was huge.
I loved it. It was awesome. As soon as I got out of that slump, I was happier. My schoolwork was going better. My energy level was up. My like everything was getting better. Everything.
Ah, that's great. That's awesome that you took it upon yourself to take those steps of going out and seeking help to, get out of your slump. That's something that I've never heard before on this show. That's crazy. Is nuts. But it's great that you were able to get out of that slump and be able to be that type of impact player you were on the offensive side of things. In that first season, once things started to heat up, what we say were probably the biggest parts of your game in the offensive zone that made you dangerous as an offense in terms of the offensive defenseman side of things.
Probably me working the puck on the blue line, getting shots through, getting guys out of the way, always getting shots on guys, or like sneaking in back door when the play's on the other side and I'm the offside D. I've always loved doing that.
Yeah, for sure. And would you say that there were some things in your game that kind of took some bigger steps this year in your offensive side of the game, like the shot, like your confidence with the puck?
Yeah, my confidence was a lot higher this year than last year. I found myself leading the rush more, getting more shots on net, taking that D-man wide, stopping, looking for a play, being more confident, taking the puck out of my zone, taking more time with the puck, making the right decision.
That's awesome. That's great. We're going to get into your season this year in just a bit, but just talking about yourself as a defenseman as the year went along in the D zone, just What would you say were the things that you felt really came along in your game in that first year in terms of the defensive side of things?
Probably my toughness in the corners. I was getting beat a lot out of the corners, in the corners in front of the net, and I focused on that for quite a bit, was getting below those guys, getting them out of the corner, not letting them around me, pinning guys against the boards. And that really helped a lot leading into this year with stuff like that and just being more gritty in my defensive zone.
You spoke about just the opportunities you got early on in the show about just being able to play on special teams. Can you just speak about what type of player that team got from you on the special teams, this Wolfpack team got?
When I ran that first line power play, I was on the top with Badgley and Woodward to my right and left, and I would feed them one-timers the whole time, and lots of those shots would go in. I was kind of the playmaker up there, the quarterback that led it, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, obviously, like you had more assists than goals. It seems like you're a guy that loves to dish that puck. Have you found that throughout the years your hockey IQ is kept improving? Like in terms of like just in terms of that year specifically, would you say that that was one of the years where you really saw your hockey IQ really take its next step?
Yeah, definitely. I was a pass first guy that year. I always have been. I was this year. I like to think of myself as a pass first guy. I've playing with Zach and Roan. They're all over the place. They know what they're doing. They can get behind those D, look for those stretch passes that worked quite often. That helped a lot with my game. The fast pace in the D zone with the other team forechecking, dumping the puck in. I had to get shifty, be able to get out of that position, get around that guy, and make a good first pass.
So I'm assuming you were a guy that ended up getting a lot of minutes in that first year with that team, just in terms of even strength and on special teams. Can you just speak about how getting those many opportunities really helped your confidence in year one?
That helped a lot. I was getting time in overtime. I was starting games with Rhett Ravendal, a great defenseman. Uh, Coach was always wanting me on the ice. It was awesome. I loved it.
Just looking at your guys' stats from last season, you are in 2019-2020, you went 18-9-4, so 18 wins, 9 losses, 4 overtime losses, good for 7th in the North, 189 goals for 3rd in the North, and you had 129 goals against, which was 7th in the North. So just it seems like, you guys were a really highly skilled offensive team with those two guys, of course, Roan and Zach leading the way up front. But could you just speak about some of the times where you guys might have struggled in the D zone a bit? Were there times like that?
We got scored on the penalty kill quite often that I remember. We didn't have a ton of depth that year, but our top line defensemen like me and Rhett Ravendal and Blake Bratton, we weren't the best in the D zone. We probably could have been better, being more gritty, getting pucks out, stuff like that. We were definitely more of a run and gun offensive team. We probably should have focused more on the D zone than I think about it.
Yeah, but just being able to look back and know that, that was a mistake that you guys could have corrected. Just you feel like that was a good learning year in terms of just being able to know that stuff like that had to be corrected.
I learned a lot that year. That's the year that I really started working on my D zone stuff, getting tougher, moving bodies out of the way, making the right decision behind my net, getting the puck to those wingers or out of the zone.
Just for you guys going into the playoffs, you lost in the first round to the Saskatoon Bandits, into getting swept. Of course, is never fun. Being out of the playoffs that early is never fun. But just for you to be able to get that opportunity of playing playoff hockey so early on at that age level, just what was that experience like of going through those 2 games in the playoffs against the Bandits?
Going into that playoff series, I didn't think it was going to be a whole lot different than league, but as soon as I stepped on that ice for warm-ups, I could tell it was a totally different atmosphere. The other team was running and gunning, looking to hit us, get early momentum. It was tough. I loved it, though. It was a great pace of hockey, intense. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you would say that the playoff hockey, the atmosphere, even though it was like that run and gun stuff, run and gun type of game you would say you enjoyed it quite a bit, just that style of stuff, getting more intense stuff, tightening up?
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I wouldn't trade anything for that playoff feeling. It's awesome.
Yeah. What would you say were probably the biggest takeaways you took out of those playoffs of just, getting ousted in 2 games? Just the biggest lessons you took with you that you're going to use moving forward?
Probably our special teams. Our special teams did not perform as good as it should have that series. It was lacking. Our mental preparedness was pretty bad too, for what I can remember. I remember lots of guys joking around in the dressing room because lots of them were first years in that league, not knowing what it was going to be like. And our mental preparation probably could have been way better.
This season, out of the games that you got to play and the 3 games that you got to play, how have you found that your mental preparation has improved?
I worked on that a lot. My mental side of my game has been a big focus the last few years, whether that's body language before the game to my teammates, to my coaches, stuff like that. I came more prepared to the rink. I have better sleep habits. I do stuff like that. I have the same routine, which I didn't have before. I always do the same thing before the games in the dressing room, same warm-up, same stretches, same everything.
Yeah. Are you the type of guy to listen to some music before the game, or are you the type of guy that kind of just likes to keep I guess, be surrounded by the sounds of the rink and just your teammates and stuff?
I obviously love listening to music in the dressing room before, but I also love talking to my teammates, getting to know their thoughts on the game before the game, and just chatting it up with the guys before we go out there.
After that first season that you had with the Wolfpack, just talking about what the coaches told you of just this, and the last time you had to talk to them before the next season that you had, just what were the biggest takeaways that they had from your game that they told you about?
In my first year Wolfpack or my second?
Yeah, your first year.
They always told me that I needed to work on my D zone the most, which they were most definitely right about. Obviously my mental game too. Those were the biggest 2 takeaways from that year. I definitely worked on them a lot after that. And I did have the same coach the first year as the second year. I've loved him all the time he's coached me. He's been a great mentor, great coach, great friend, everything. I look up to him. He's treated me awesome.
That's great. That's awesome to have a type of coach like that has left a significant impact like he has on you. Just we spoke earlier in the show about just the strength training that you're going to be doing this year, just getting a lot stronger, getting more agile. What would you say were the things that you were working on heading into the season that you were hoping would be a full season this year, but of course it got canceled due to COVID-19? Just the things that you were working on leading up to this season in the gym and just off the ice?
I was doing a lot of off-ice training. I was doing strength training, but not as lot as I was now. I was doing more athletic stuff like sprints and jumping and stuff like that. But off the ice, that's really all I did a ton. A little bit of mental stuff again. I've been focusing a ton on that the last few years, obviously, but I was in the gym quite a bit last summer, looking forward to this second year for playing for the Wolfpack.
Like, you put up 5 goals in that first year, had 16 assists. Did you feel in that first season with the Wolfpack that you were shooting the puck a lot, or are you a type of defenseman that shoots the puck a lot?
I normally do shoot the puck a lot. I normally have a ton of confidence on the blue line, but that year everything was lacking. It was a pretty rough year. I had no confidence. I wasn't shooting at all. I was looking for passes. I'd maybe get 1-2 shots a game at max. I definitely look to improve that going into this year. So,
yeah, and just seems like you talked about, like after you went through just talking to just people involved with the mental side of things, it seemed like stuff really picked up, and that one of those things being your confidence. How did you feel like the confidence that you had from the type of second half that you did last season really translated into the type of start you had in the 3 games you had this season?
I was extremely confident all summer, all the start of this year, looking into those games that were supposed to be played in November. I was hoping I was going to be a leader, which I was. I was hoping I was going to be one of the scorers, one of the guys that people look up to, one of the guys they could trust to get the puck moving, put it in the net, set people up and stuff like that. And I feel like I was for those few games that were played.
Did you feel like you were taking a lot more shots this season?
Way more, yeah.
Yeah. How did you feel like your shot improved, or did it improve at all?
It definitely improved. I worked on it a lot during quarantine. I was shooting 400 pucks a week.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. That's crazy. Would you say that what would we say was probably the biggest improvements that you saw in your shot?
Probably the power of it, not so much accuracy. I've always had sort of an accurate shot. I've been able to put it where I want to most of the time. Definitely the power of and velocity of the shot.
And for you, are you the type of guy to take more snapshots or more slap shots or wrist shots?
I definitely take more snapshots. They're quicker than slap shots. I like to do my stuff quick and fast and get it off, but I'll take a one-timer or slap shot when I can.
Yeah, trying to kind of be like that OB-esque, trying to get to that level of that 1T, or not quite?
My 1T is not the greatest. It has its moments, one every 10 shots, a bullet, but the rest I just fan on them.
Yeah. Well, there's only one Ovechkin one-timer, I think. That thing is legendary. That's for sure. Is legendary. A signature shot for sure, no doubt about it. But for you guys this year, I had a chance to look at the roster, an experienced team in terms of age this season, with only 3 07s on the team. The rest were 06s. Could you talk about the type of group that you had this season compared to last year?
I loved the guys both years. This year, I knew almost all of them, I think. I met one new guy this year, and I loved both the years a lot. This year, the atmosphere felt a little bit better with all the guys knowing each other for the most part. Everyone wanting to get into those games after not playing for 7 or so months. Everyone was hungry to play. So, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, for you guys, you lost the first game of the season to the Generals 3-2 in a close one, but then you tied Humboldt in your next game and whipped them 11-3 in what ended up being the final game of the season. So obviously, you guys ended up showing that you could be that good defensive team this season. You could put up a lot of points as well in games in terms of goals, just the team in general. Just what we say would probably be the biggest factor into you guys making a push for a potential long playoff run this season if you guys were able to have a normal season with playoffs and stuff?
It probably would have been our depth. All three forward lines could put the puck in the net, keep the puck out of our zone. Same with all three D lines. We had two really good goalies. Everyone could work the puck with each other. We had a pretty good power play, a very good penalty kill. Everyone was blocking shots, laying the body, skating hard, and had good intensity.
Yeah, and like you talked about, and like I noticed, like even though you guys had top scorers like Rowan Woodward and Zach Bansley last season, of course, those were the two guys that were mainly putting up the production. With that more depth that you guys have, like you said, two good goaltenders and a solid decor, it would have been interesting to see what you guys could have done this season. Do you feel like this team? You feel like this team had what it took to potentially win a championship this season?
I do. We had a really good team this year. It's tough to say, though. There's a lot of good teams in that league, but I feel like our depth really would have separated us from everyone else.
Yeah, for sure. Just last question before I let you go here. Just in terms of the maturity, the way you've been able to mature throughout these past 2 seasons with this team. Of course, you were an experienced player this year. Just talk about the type of player you are now with the maturity that you were able to have throughout those 2 seasons.
I definitely matured a lot since my first year with the Wolfpack to now. I've became more of a leader. I've tried to make myself a guy to look up to. Maturity has came probably one of my best aspects so far. It's came a long way since I first started, whether that's body language, picking up my teammates, coaching them to, being a guy to look up to and stuff like that.
And I got to ask you one more question. I feel like this has to be the standard here on the show. Just at this point in your hockey life, what are some of the biggest things that you want to mark off your bucket list, I guess, of what you want to achieve in the sport?
I really want to play in the WHL as a 16-year-old. That's been a huge goal.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
let's see if you can make it a reality. That opportunity a reality. That'd be awesome to see you in the dub as a 16-year-old. It'd be awesome to see where you get drafted this season, Tarin, and it's going to be awesome to see what you're able to do with the Blazers coming up in the season coming up this year in 2021-2022. It was awesome having you on the show on this Wednesday night. Of course, this episode going out on Friday. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, Tarin. I'm going to let you go now. Thanks so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Tarin Smith, defenseman from Porcupine Plain, Saskatchewan, joined me on tonight's edition of the show. I want to thank Tarin for coming on and being the guest in this week's episode. I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in tonight, and I also want to thank our sponsors in Case Financial Group, Toby Hockey, and Wentworth AG for sponsoring tonight's episode. I'll be back next Friday for another edition of the Prospect Show at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, or on our website at astvproductions.com. Of course, Matt Gorman and Eddie Steele from MCN Sports Advising and Skill Development will be joining that episode. There might be some other guests joining that one as well. So if you want to find out who the guest might be other than Eddie and Matt joining in next week's edition of the show, be sure to follow us on our Facebook and Instagram at ASTV Productions, or on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV to see who those guests may be coming up next week on the show. And before I sign off on tonight's episode, I want to let you all know about a gift card giveaway that's happening right now on ASTV Productions on one of the other shows that I host called Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's a Manitoba-based newscast. We paired up with a lacrosse brand here from Winnipeg, Manitoba called the Lax Boys. They're 4 kids still in high school. They started up this lacrosse brand along with their cousin to grow the game of lacrosse through their brand. We're giving away a $100 gift card from the Lax Boys to one of our lucky viewers on Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's simple how you enter to win. Basically, what you'll need to do is look at the description of this episode. You can go down to the bottom of the description and we'll be showing you the different places where you can enter to win this gift card. You can either enter on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. One of those will work. It doesn't have to be on all 3 of those, but you'll click on the link that's given on, say, Facebook. In the link of this description, it'll bring you to the post on how to enter to win this $100 gift card prize from Deluxe Boys, and all you have to do is simply follow the steps given in the description of the post that you go to, and once you complete all the steps on the post, you'll be entered in to win a $100 gift card from the Lax Boys. The winner will be announced on our June 28th edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba at the end of that show live, so it's going to be a lot of fun to see who gets the $100 gift card giveaway prize. It's going to be a lot of fun. Be sure to enter today if you want to have a chance to win. But yeah, that's going to do it for me tonight on this edition of the Prospect Show. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Now enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. And until next Friday, I'll see you then.